What drives a person to go out on such a limb? Surrendering Eretz Israel to Arab hands, that's perfectly okay, and that's politically correct. That's total Arab. There's a total, but what do you get out there? There are secular Jews in this world who don't care. They don't get involved. They don't care. They don't want to know from it. Don't talk to me, I won't talk to you. It's like the same thing, for example, there are secular Jews who have nothing against Torah Judaism, nothing against Orthodox Judaism. They'll tell you, teach his own. You do your thing, I do my thing. Don't come into my neighborhood, and I won't come into yours. That's fine. That's understandable from a secular point of view. It's not a healthy thing. It's not good. It's not Torah thing, but it's understandable. But then you have secular Jews. It's not good enough you don't go into their neighborhood. They have to go to war against Judaism. They go to their way to go to war against Judaism. They're secular Jews who, as long as they don't get asked to make aliyah or even support the UJ, whatever the case may be, they're okay. They're not going to come out and rampage or meet with enemies, sworn enemies of the Jewish people to try and facilitate the downfall of Eretz Israel and the Jewish people. They're not going to do that. But there are others that will. What is the difference? What is the difference? What is the fundamental difference that drives a person to go out of his way? It's like atheists, the same way. There are people who don't believe in God. And they don't want to believe in God. And you cannot convince them to believe in God. And they're going to work the same way every day. They get up in the morning, godless. They go to work, godless. They come home, godless. And that's the end of it. But then there are people who take big billboards on sort of public buses and say, there's no such thing as God. Don't believe in God. And they try to promote atheism by writing a book about atheism. Where does that come from? I mean, how do you know for sure? You don't know for sure God doesn't exist. Maybe he's playing a joke on you. Maybe he's around the corner. He's hiding from you. How do you know for sure? Why go to war against God? If he's leaving you alone, leave him alone. You can certainly be happy living your life being secular. No one's asking. They're not asking for contributions. Why pick up the sword and challenge the master of the universe just in case? He's there. So that's one of the main determining factors of the Erev Rav. There are tons of secular Jews, the vast majority. 10 million Jews today who are secular. But of the 10 million Jews, very few have a she'ifah, have a specific desire to go out of their way and undermine the efforts of the Jewish people to bring about the redemption. They will go out of their way to create relationships between Esav and Yishmael that don't have to exist, but they want them anyhow. So that becomes one of the determining factors, apparently, of who belongs to the Arab. There's not a lot of them, but there's enough of them. And unfortunately, they have the biggest mouths of everybody, and they tend to often control the media, or have a very, very strong into the media, giving all the wrong impression. So he says the she'ifa, the main she'ifa of the Erev Rav, is to bring about the zivug of Esav and Yishmael, lahafrid bein hashnei mechichim, because by bringing together Esav and Yishmael, you cause a separation of Mashiach ben Yosef from Mashiach ben David and vice versa. So they're coming specifically to undermine the redemption, he says, right? So from this you learn out, he says, and this is very important, because it's going to get very chavif in a second, that the main avoda, our main job in this world, he says, we learn from this. The main avoda of the Jewish people, especially at the end of history, is to break the koyach of the Erev Rav, to stop him. That's not against Esav, not against Yishmael, right? That's not what's going to do it over here, and that's why it's not working. The main koyach is to break is the Erev Rav. Klipas am Amelius Harasha, right? Yisrael Ha'erev Rav Hu Sonenu Hachikato, because the Erev Rav more than Yishmael. It's an amazing thing. More than Esav, he hates us. The Erev Rav hates us the most of everybody in the world. And you can see that. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And he's the one who divides between the two Mashiachim. Oh, and this is the worst part of all. He says, how do they work? How do they work? He says, they do it by magic. Achizas and Naim. You know what Achizas and Naim is? It's like grab the eyes. That's what magic today for. It's illusion. It's the hand is faster than the eye, meaning that they do it in a way that does not look like they're doing what they're doing. Right. That's the main thing of the Erev Rav. They make it look like they're doing it for the sake of peace, it's for the sake of war. They make it look for the sake of furthering the cause of the Jewish people. This is going to somehow make it better for the Jewish people. You're all going, how's that going to make it better for the Jewish people? Like giving away Gaza, a Bakifan, right? By circumventing things. Therefore, in the Milchama, be'erev Rav hiya Milchama achi kasher umari. He says that's the main and most difficult and most bitter battle of all for the Jewish people during the end of history. He says v'aleinu lizgaber, and therefore it's upon us to strengthen ourselves. B'chol sherit kochenu b'milchama zu, whatever energy we have left over, to be able to fight this battle. V'chol mi she'ein, and here's the part that you just take this sitting down. V'chol mi she'ein osik b'poyel b'milchama haneged erev Rav. Anybody who's not actively involved in the war against the Erev Rav, naseh memela shutaf leklipa Erev Rav. You become their partner. If you're not fighting against the Erev Rav, you are part of the Erev Rav. There's not much option in between there, to fall into, right? He says Vehi Mishyem, and anybody who falls in that category, it's obviously not as harif as the people who actively do it, but anybody who falls in this category he's talking about, if you're not fighting against them, you're part of them. He says Mutav lo shalom nifra. Better he wasn't created in the end.